All right, guys. We're going to jump into the next panel. It's focused on the dev tool stack, data, APIs, and SDKs. Before we jump into things, I'd love for each of my panelists to maybe start with your name, your role, and what you're working on. And maybe we'll start at the end.
I'm David Rodas. I'm CEO of Permissionless Labs, contributor to Pipe Network, content delivery network built on top of Solana.
My name is Demetrius Galkotis. Now back at Blockdaemon, heading up protocols and running the DeFi. Blockdaemon just acquired my company, Expand.Network, which is a DeFi infrastructure company.
Hello, everyone. My name's Elsie. I lead marketing at Dune. Dune used to be analytics, and you've seen all of our dashboards. Our goal is to make data accessible, and now we cover over 100 blockchains with all of their data on Dune.
My name is Michael, aka Mogarchy, and I'm the CEO of SwapKit. SwapKit is a cross-chain DEX aggregator. We have an API and SDK, and we're focused on making cross-chain swaps easy, affordable, accessible to wallets, dApps, other businesses.
Perfect. And I'm your moderator today. My name is Salty Kazi. I am head of partnerships at Nebula, which is a Web3 accelerator and marketing agency. So we help projects pre-TGE, post-TGE with their growth targets. So enough about me, and let's kind of jump into things. So now we have an idea of who's here on stage. Let's zoom in a little bit. Can you maybe tell me a little bit more about this specific problem that you're solving and why devs are choosing your solution versus maybe some of the others available in the market? And maybe Mogarchy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so cross-chain integration complexity is really just exploding. There's more chains than ever before. There's more protocols than ever before. And for developers, everybody wants to get to this, I think I heard it called in the last panel, this mecca of being truly chain agnostic and letting users go from any chain to any chain whenever they want. But blockchains are all very different, right? And every protocol has its own learning curve and its own maintenance. So the problem that we're trying to solve with SwapKit is not just making blockchains easier to integrate, but also protocols, so that you can come to one place, have a unified API, unified SDK, and we'll have all the packages and everything available right there. So you have one interface where if you want to do a Bitcoin to Ethereum swap, it looks just like if you want to do a Solana to Doge swap. So you have this single interface where you can come make a quote request. We'll build the transaction for you. You just have to submit it to the blockchain. We've got all the tools. We make the wallets much easier to connect to. So maybe you're from the EVM ecosystem or the Solana ecosystem. You're familiar with those tools. You have those wallets. And we say, hey, come add Bitcoin. Bitcoin is half of the marketplace or more. And everyone says, well, we don't know how to do Bitcoin. So we put all that in our API and SDK. Here's how you do Bitcoin. Here's how you connect to the major Bitcoin wallets. Do you want to add Ledger or Trezor support? Here's the package for it. You just try to make that stuff as simple as possible so that we can get closer to that chain agnostic future.
A lot of you are probably thinking, why is Dune here on a dev tool panel? And I probably agree with you because Dune, for the past few years, have been known for our dashboards, analytics. And I hope that today with the panel and slowly we're going to change your mind that Dune is not just for analytics and dashboards. And we're going for something that's more grand on the data side of things. And first of all, I think devs is needing data more than ever now. We have so much more chains and so much more block space that are filling up. And without data, you're kind of navigating in a world that you don't know who are using your product, you don't know how your product is performing. And sometimes you might think that if you're developing a product, of course you know all that information, but that's not true. And a lot of times, we know blockchain is public and transparent, but the data is actually not that readable as we think it is. And Dune is here to make that so everyone can go onto Dune and read the data as an actual natural language or even using a very easy SQL to make that happen. So that's first why devs need data. And second is Dune is making that data available in a different format very soon, and that's with one of the announcements that we're going to make soon. Dune is navigating towards the developer space where all the Dune data will be accessible through APIs for you to build applications on the back end.
Cool. That's really cool. I like that. At Blockdaemon, we've been around since 2017 when we got our start. Started out in the node infrastructure space. So Blockdaemon is unique. It's kind of like one of the OGs in the space where we have 4 distinct different business lines. You got your node infrastructure, your staking infrastructure, your wallet as a service, vaults, and also the DeFi infrastructure play. So our job as a developer is really make a unified API SDK kit to where you're really simplifying and abstracting the complexities of the code, and the only thing you have to do is take the change ID out. So we provide a dashboard that allows developers and technology people to come in and say, hey, look, I need to stand up a node. I want to integrate with my APIs on the staking side. I want to create a wallet and institute a wallet for my customers and myself. And I also want access to on-chain data as well as access to the decentralized liquidity pools. And we provide that in one portal in a very unified way to help the developers out. We also have sandboxes and playgrounds for people to come in and play to understand all the different things that we can provide in the 80+ protocols and chains that we support.
Cool. So Pipe Network is about increasing bandwidth and reducing latency. So everyone today uses a content delivery network for streaming video or looking at a media site today. My team previously exited a video company to AWS in 2015, so we're intimately familiar with content delivery networks. And essentially, we're leveraging the coordination of blockchain to put these hyper-local cache nodes in the neighborhoods. If you look at like a hyperscaler like AWS, it's typically 350 miles from the user. And if you look at a traditional CDN like Akamai or CloudFront, they're about 150 miles from the user. At these pop nodes, we're able to get them down to like 50 to 20 miles within the residential neighborhoods. That puts the latency down into like sub-millisecond, so 5 or 10 milliseconds. It opens up the entire bandwidth pipe for full provisioning of the bandwidth available there. So essentially, it's kind of like Web 2 builders using blockchain to coordinate payouts and verification of the work done by the nodes.
Perfect. So I think that gives us a much clearer idea of where you guys are all playing within the space. As devs continue to build, fragmentation across user experience becomes more and more of an issue. So I'm curious, individually, how your projects are helping smooth out that multi-chain experience for devs. And Dimitrios, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think our goal is really to try to be the Shopify for infrastructure, if we can. Web3 dev tooling has its challenges. It's not as cool as Web 2, but we're making a great deal of progress. The fragmentation is real. The stress on the dev teams is real. People want access to decentralized exchanges. They want access to lending pools. They want access to liquid staking venues. It's a lot for a dev team to take on. So our job, again, is to really be that Shopify where they can come, they have a dashboard, they can stand up a node, they can integrate a staking venue, they can stand up a wallet, and they have access to the liquidity pools to do the trading that they want to do, both and source on-chain data. So that's kind of really what our effort is really to work with all these Web 2 traditional customers like the big banks. I think we support 40% of the top 10 banks that are moving into our space, but we also support the degen crypto crowd that wants the access to on-chain data and access to the staking venues. And we supply that in 70 different points of presence around the globe. We have latency issues that we're dealing with some of our high trading folks. So we have redundancy that we have to maintain because our folks are asking us to make sure that we have failover procedures, we have extensive DDoS protection in. So it's a lot to take in, not just from a tooling perspective, but from a pure infrastructure standing up and a real uptime perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. Moberk, I think what you had said in your introduction in terms of obviously what you guys are doing at SwapKit, is there anything that stands out that you guys are doing on the smoothing experience between the different chains?
Yeah, I think one thing that jumps out of my mind is that there's good advancements happening in the tooling, and we're trying to do our part in that. But the industry is growing so fast, and the ecosystem's moving so fast that it's really impossible to have us state of being where the tools are caught up to the state of innovation on blockchains. And that's just the reality that we live in. But what we try to do is build our tooling so that we can innovate more quickly when new providers come online, when new blockchains come online, so that, Near Protocol has been building their blockchain operating system and all their other stuff for several years. We're all familiar with Near. Now they're coming out with something called Intense, and they're doing cross-chain swaps. So for us to bring that into our ecosystem, we've put the tooling in place where we can say, hey, it's just another provider. It's got the same exact format that you're familiar with for our customers that they're already doing for other providers. So this is just one example, but we try to put the tooling so that as providers grow, as new chains come, it's really not something new that developers have to learn. It just kind of shows up for them. So that's the way that we're thinking about it. At the end of the day, though, there are always trade-offs. So no one can integrate every chain. No one can integrate every protocol. So you have to really look at, where's the activity happening? Where do you see the future? Who's got not just the coolest tech, but the most users? And really focus on those things. But as much as you can make the technology blend into the background, that's what we try to focus on.
Makes sense. Anything to add, guys? If not, I'm happy.
Yeah, so Pipe Network, we're essentially going after Web 2 customers primarily. It's great the Web 3 customers we're getting today. A lot of them are doing like inference and crazy things outside of the video space, which we came from and optimized for. While we started on Solana, we've had some great conversation with the folks at Aptos about supporting some media workflows for them. The other day on Twitter, I was just doing some nerd talk and got connected with the CTO of Sui and looking to wrap pipe around their storage system. So I'd say we're very agnostic on chains and users.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, tooling is obviously great, but I think that as people start to leverage your tools, right, they're not going to be very effective if they can't use them at scale. And so maybe, Elsie, we'll start with you on this one. Beyond, docs and dashboards, as you said, what are some of the more effective ways that you've seen teams or projects scale by using your tools at Dune?
That goes right back to the chain stuff. So we supported layer 3. A lot of you probably know that they're a quest platform, and they are adding on different chains for different quests that they can support. They use Dune's developer API that I just mentioned, and they were able to support 20 chains at launch and keep adding chains. And Dune is able to support them as they grow. As they come to Dune and say, we're supporting this new chain, can you add it to your API? Immediately next day is on there. So we're helping them to scale their product and scaling our own product at the same time. So a lot of the teams come to Dune for this solution because we are growing and we're embracing the multi-chain world now. And with the Dune existing data infrastructure, we're able to adapt to that very quickly.
Demetrios, I was going to ask, obviously, at Blockdaemon, you guys are doing, quite a bit of different things. Is there anything that stands out, or maybe an example of one of your clients that has really been able to see, I guess, almost accelerate their own scale by leveraging some of the tools that you guys have?
Yeah, there's a couple that come to mind. We had a very large crypto exchange with over 100 million wallet users where they were having a great deal of difficulty in obtaining uptime and pricing information, and they integrated the Blockdaemon Universal API to enhance their uptime and sophistication and execution capabilities for the pricing for the 100 million users. And that was really super, where we're providing pricing for them and data for them for over 30 different chains as they keep adding it. The other one, too, is that on the expand side, before we got acquired by Blockdaemon, is we're aggregating about 150 different liquidity pair pools for a data company. I'm going to talk to you after this. To where we're aggregating liquidity pools across multiple DEXs, within multiple different liquidity pools within the DEX, and aggregating that into one simplified price and delivering that in a WebSocket to a data provider. So we're contributing to the oracles that are out there on the on-chain pricing information and kind of aggregating that. So those are two examples: one big exchange, and then a big oracle provider we're providing on-chain data to in an aggregated way.
Yeah, again, makes sense. And I think that, just evidence of the types of tools that you guys are putting out there. So my next question, I want to focus on, we've talked about the tools themselves, we've talked about, can they operate and how can they help projects get to scale, which leads me to kind of the next thing that workflow is like performance, right? I think that, white papers are great and everyone thinks that everything is going to work as it's supposed to at all times, but I think that things really get tested when things go sideways, right? Whether it's like traffic spikes, whether it's the chain itself going down. So what trade-offs or reliability challenges are you guys managing on the back end that maybe some of your clients don't, because of that, they don't have to deal with? Maybe David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we deal with a tremendous amount of bandwidth, requests per second, trying to minimize the latency. One of the things we launched with initially was just kind of a layup was like serving up to Solana snapshots, and it's taken tremendous load off the validators, and we've got proof that it's syncing about 30% faster today. I think on the back end, we have to do a lot of calculations and specialized algorithms to make sure that we're connecting users to the closest cache node that's got the data pre-cached already. That's how we get the sub-second millisecond latency. I think there's a tremendous complexity in CDNs that we're bringing over and smoothing out in the blockchain land. And so far, we've had a tremendous amount of like these AI startups use this, and the feedback's been great because they're all trying to build like real-time chat interfaces. And today, if you're trying to serve that out of AWS, it's like it does not feel real-time at all.
Mogurki, like one thing I was thinking about is, and I think a lot of you guys would fall into this category, but I think one thing that we've started to see is that a lot of the tooling in Web3 is gearing towards kind of a build versus buy, right? There's a lot of amazing projects and everyone is innovating all the time in our industry, but it's difficult to do that when you have to build up the base layer yourself. And so obviously there's providers like all of you that people can come to not have to worry about doing that. Is there anything in particular that stands out in your mind as to some sort of pain that you guys have stripped away from a lot of your clients that they would have been dealing with, whether it's related to some of the tooling that you guys have?
Yeah, I think when you start to think about performance and reliability, everybody thinks of the tech side first, right? You're thinking about the tech stack and trying to lower your latency or have multiple providers to make sure that, if one chain goes down or someone's doing a hard fork, something has to get paused, that you've got a backup. So, you've got multiple ways to find the same route. But another thing that we focused on is watching the actual execution of the protocols that we connect to. So if something goes wrong in a protocol where maybe their arbitrageurs don't keep up with the pool prices for some reason, or the orders aren't getting filled correctly with the request for quote type system, we monitor those prices on a block by block basis so that we can say, hey, that protocol for whatever reason is 3% different than Binance right now, and that's a red flag for us. So we're going to pause that provider for our integrators. They don't have to know anything. They don't have to see it. We're just going to serve them different quotes from someone else until that becomes healthy again. So outside of just the technical stuff, there's also the financial side that I think is really important for providing a good UX.
I think I'm really leaning towards the aggregated shops like Blockdaemon. So I really like having one-stop shop solutions for a lot of devs. What the devs are facing right now is, like you said, there's so many solutions out there, and they're trying to stitch together different APIs, different SDKs, different toolings, all to one stack. And then once there's certain things happening, the devs have to go to support here, support there, talk to people on the Telegram channel, fill up a support form, and get all kinds of time wasted just because they use too many solutions and they get too involved in various channels. So I think having one trusted company that you choose that can service you with all the solutions that you need, or a field, just a key field that can provide you with everything. I think as we progress on the infra side, more and more solutions are coming up. I think we're seeing a time that more and more aggregated solutions are coming up too.
Yeah, I think we really assist the big institutions and the players in the space around an extension of their staff, vendor consolidation. We're really there to help them with their node staking and wallet and DeFi needs. So they can modify and extend their budgets, and they can work with one trusted provider in the space because they know that we have uptime responsibilities, we have insurance on all of our staking products, we have DDoS protection, we have to deploy around the globe. So you have to balance performance, latency, and security in a harmonious way to make sure we're meeting the uptime requirements for the banks like Goldman and JP and Citi, who are our customers and on our cap table, and the VCs and some of the other key players in the space exchanges that we serve. So it's a delicate balance, but again, we're helping them consolidate their vendor, reduce their vendor footprint, and extend their budgets by working with someone that can supply more than one thing.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I want to move in, I guess, a little bit of a different direction. So we've talked about, the tooling, scale, reliability, performance. But let's, flip the script a little bit. So, I think that when it comes to tooling, it's not always, sunshines and SDKs, right? So what is, and I'd like each of you to give me your hottest take on the current state of tooling. So it could be something that needs to die, something that may be overrated, a hard truth that, people aren't willing to face. Let's go around the horn. And Mogherty, I feel like that smirk on your face says that you got something juicy for me, so.
Sure. I think the thing that needs to die more than anything else in this space is tribalism. So the tooling is there, no matter which ecosystem you want to build in, no matter which blockchain you want to build on. We're working on it. It's always maturing. There's always room to grow. But the lack of tooling is not really the problem that I see with projects and developers. It's that they are part of a cult. And whether that cult is the Bitcoin cult or the EVM cult or the Solana cult, or that they believe that Rust is the best and they're only going to do things in Rust, that's the reason why Uniswap is a massive exchange that's been there for the last 7 or 8 years now, and they still don't have Bitcoin. It's not because they don't have the tooling to get Bitcoin, it's because of the tribalism. So that's the thing that I think is the thing that needs to die more in the space than solving some technical glitch.
I'm a big plus one on what you just said. And I also want to say that you should not use more than 3 APIs for building multi-chain. And that's part of the tribalism that we're talking about, because all the data and everything is so different that forces devs to use different solutions for different chains. And even if you're building the same product, and to achieve that on the back end, you end up using so many different API providers and things just to build cross-chain. And Dune is here to help with that. We're trying to make everything into one data hub to help you use one API to accomplish all the data needs.
They covered it. I mean, the tribalism is key. You're trying to make it super simple for the Web3 user community. We're trying to be an aggregator of enhancing the bridging functionality by adding about 8 or 9 different intent-based systems on top of our APIs, so people can go cross-chain much more seamlessly, cost-effectively. I don't think people care. They just want to own USDC. They could give to fajitas what chain it's on. They just want their USDC, and it's our job to provide the APIs and abstract that complexity and the tooling for them to be able to do that in an efficient and cost-effective way.
Yeah, I have a very different perspective on a lot of Web3, coming from previously working in Web2 FANG engineering. I think a lot of these projects are fascinating and amazing trailblazers, but for example, I can go out and test some of these decentralized storage systems, and it takes 5 minutes to get the first byte of data returned. So I think at this point, after many years, a lot of these should just basically liquidate their coins into stable coins and return back to investors and shut down.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to not agree with everything that you guys are saying. I think my hot take, I'll keep it short because I know everyone wants to hear from you guys, is, and if you came to the multi-chain day in Dubai, then I apologize because I'm going to repeat it. But I think that our industry is incredible when it comes to innovation, and there's so many amazing things that people are working on. Yeah. But I feel like from a business perspective, too many projects treat their projects like a PhD, and they're pushing the boundary on like what is possible and what's new and all these amazing things. And there's undoubtedly amazing things that are coming. But I think that they forget sometimes that they're playing with investors' monies, and they should probably have a business model that can actually live up to the valuations that they have, whether through market cap valuation, things like that. So that's kind of my take on that. Yeah.
I think there's one other thing, and I'm going to get in probably big trouble for this too, is I think, if the pendulum swings too much way in one direction or the other, we kind of get in trouble. I think we have a tendency to be a tad bit way too fanatical about decentralization. And coming from my background is working at NASDAQ and NYSE, there are some benefits about being a tad bit more centered in benefiting both of what the best of centralization brings and what the best of decentralization brings, and kind of find that happy medium, because we just have a bunch of very illiquidity pools out there where there's no depth, there's no price discovery, there's nothing, and that has to change over time.
Yeah, 100%.
I
So
don't think you're alone in this. I don't think you will get in trouble with this statement too.
perfect. So we have a couple minutes left. I think let's bring it home with maybe each panelist give me one feature, upgrade, integration, partnership that's coming up for you that you're most excited about. And Mogherty, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to hijack the question just a little bit. And I'm just going to say, if you look at DeFi overall, we've moved from between this centralization and decentralization question, we've moved about 12% of DeFi or trading between CeFi and DeFi on chain. But if you look at Bitcoin specifically, we've moved less than 1% on chain. So that's a problem that we're really focusing on from the SwapKit side, is trying to bring more Bitcoin volume back on chain and make it easy and accessible for everyone, whether they're in their wallet, in a dApp, to access the biggest piece of crypto, really. The Bitcoin's really been excluded from the DeFi revolution. As far as things we're most excited about, I might get in trouble for saying this one. I'm not sure if we are supposed to go public yet, but here we go. Let's go. We have a Trust Wallet integration coming live, so just very excited to work with them. And Trust is awesome, and really excited to bring their users a new user experience. And one thing we focus on for those users is a single transaction experience where they can go from their Bitcoin into any asset on Jupiter, or any asset on Uniswap into Dogecoin. So routes that you don't normally see in DeFi, we're trying to make those possible and just make the user experience easier than a centralized exchange.
Thank you for opening that wallet door for me. My most exciting thing for today to share is that we just launched a wallet report today from Dune. So if you go to Dune's Twitter account, you'll see the report on top. And we talked about all the tech stack these wallets use, what's powering behind these wallets, what type of wallets there are, the on-chain metrics, the swaps, including Trust Wallet. And we use swaps as a proxy for measuring these wallets adoption in the real world. And that's our first step into covering the wallet space and how to better powering their infra for the coming years and decades. And the second thing that I'm most excited about, sorry, I went over.
We got time.
So the second thing is Dune Sim is launching next Tuesday, which is what I talked about with all the API and everything. And it will start with the wallet API. So balances, transactions, everything that you can read for a wallet front end. Dune will be starting powering that very, very soon.
I do love your native Bitcoin swap capability. It's super awesome, and all the credit in the world. I think you're bringing a great deal of parity, price discovery, and liquidity to the Bitcoin market that's 100% concentrated on the centralized exchanges. So commend you for that. I really like that a lot. I think for us, what's really exciting for us is, again, being able to be that provider in multiple different areas to serve customers' needs. But I think what's super exciting is we finally have a regulatory landscape that is a tad bit more positive and moving towards some clarity around regulation. And what's that really provided us is institutional interest in the DeFi offering that we have. We're starting to see more people engage, test, play, and integrate that. So that's really exciting for us.
I think for Pipe Network, it's really simple. So we just launched our testnet last week. Got over 200,000 node operators already. And essentially, we go back to places like Netflix, Amazon Video. We say, give us a list of your worst performing cities, like the ones that are being underserved or you cannot even serve video to. We incentivize nodes to run there. They get the analytical data, the performance, and it's a very easy sales case. It's all mathematics.
I love that. There's too many sweet talkers in this industry. So for once, with the data, I love it. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this panel. Thank you to all of my panelists, and yeah, hope you guys have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you.